If you're limping through the afternoon daydreaming about unbuttoning your jeans just to breathe, you're so fragile you're afraid of a single bite of food will set off World War III in your gut. Then let's be honest, this episode's not another drink more greens and get over it chat. No. Today, we're calling out what's really going on behind the curtain when your body feels like rebelling against you. Chronic gut dysfunction. I want you to meet a client of mine, Lexi. And as you listen, I want you to see if her story sparks a painful familiarity, because she could be almost any woman listening to this. We're going deep, so buckle up. Welcome to another episode of the Intentional Health for Women podcast. I'm your host, Garrett GQ Query. And today, is your gut sabotaging your hormones, energy, and weight? Your gut isn't just a digestive organ. It's a hormone command center. Let's drop the first myth. Your gut isn't just about food in, food out. It's your second brain and your hormone HQ. In fact, 70 to 80% of your immune system lives inside of your gut. Lexi came to us terrified to eat. Every meal felt like a spinning roulette wheel, except instead of jackpot, she got gut pain, bloating that made her look 6 months pregnant and days without a bathroom break. Her son would beg her to play, but her legs were always swollen, painful, and inflamed. She could barely move. Her eyes were sunken in, skin dull and gray, and to make it all worse, she didn't even look sick. Sick, right? According to her doctors. She was so fatigued, so foggy, so flat, she nearly missed out on living. Here's what's happening under the hood. Damage can occur at any stage of digestion, from the moment you put food in your mouth, start chewing, to the enzymes in your stomach and small intestines, to the bacterial breakdown in the colon. If any part of this goes wrong, your body starts to sound off alarms, not just with gut symptoms, but with hormone dysregulation, low energy, cravings, and mood swings. On the topic of cravings, time and time again, I hear it over and over and over again in consultations. I can control my eating until the evening. I can control my evening until the evening. I control my eating in the evening until a certain time of the month. If you have, I know this is going to sound really woo-woo, but if you have an overgrowth of opportunistic bacteria, it is possible that based on the phase of the moon, it can actually cause those things to proliferate even worse. Sounds crazy, but it is true. Poor chewing, your stomach gets swamped with extra work, and poor breakdown means more bloating and undigested food for bacteria to potentially feed on. Low stomach acid or enzymes, hello, indigestion, GERD, and nutrients slipping by without being absorbed. Gut permeability, aka leaky gut, undigested food and toxins, bacteria slipping into your bloodstream, throwing your immune system into DEFCON 1, making you inflamed in all of the worst ways. The results, you get all over symptoms your doctor will probably attribute to age, stress, or not trying hard enough. This just simply isn't true, right? Your gut is a very sensitive system. I'm not saying this to make you sound fragile, but it is something that is easy to throw off, but it's also easy to get back on track with the basics, right? So what do we need to do? Well, we need to set intention around mealtime, right? So when we are sitting down for a meal, well, first and foremost, you need to sit down for a meal. You need to put your phone away. You need to not have a TV on. You need not to be distracted when you are consuming food. You should be experiencing your meal each and every time you sit down to your food, right? You should be able to smell your food. You should be able to sit down, enjoy putting your fork down between every single bite, taking drinks of water periodically through your meal, chewing to completion. That is going to be that first step of digestion. Modern lifestyle is a perfect storm for a gut disaster. We love to blame carbs, but here's the plot twist. It's not just what you're eating, but how you're living that can trash your gut. Lexi's day was a masterclass in modern mom hustle. Skipping breakfast, grabbing a sad, pathetic granola bar for fuel, caffeinating hard to survive the morning, struggling for a quick, healthy lunch she could choke down between obligations, and hitting major crashes mid-afternoon. By evening, she was running on wine and takeout just to numb the exhaustion. Even after we knocked out her jaundice and improved her digestion, regular stools, way fewer bloating episodes, better energy, Lexi still felt off. She was living proof that a meal plan alone can't outrun unmet needs of chronic stress. Irregular eating patterns can spike your blood sugars and strain your insulin sensitivity. So, for example, the meal, like the walk you through what Lexi just ate, right? So she had a pathetic excuse for a breakfast as far as a granola bar, over caffeination with coffee. She would oftentimes end up with a salad with maybe 3 ounces of chicken and salad, dressing on the side because of health, only to wind up tired and exhausted and either smashing a pint of Ben & Jerry's, takeout, popcorn, and of course, a couple of glasses of wine to wash it down in the evening time due to stress and exhaustion. When we look at this corresponding meal, what we end up seeing is no protein, no fiber, no nutrients for breakfast. Finally, for lunch, we have a little bit of protein, we have some fiber, we have some nutrients, but it's barely enough to, feed a toddler as far as nutrient status and overall satiety. Then in the evening, pint of Ben & Jerry's, takeout food, popcorn, washing it down with wine. Again, we are extremely void of protein. We're void of nutrients. We're void of fiber. And so our blood glucose regulation is just all over the board for multiple reasons. Those processed carbohydrates, nutrient poor meals feed bad gut bacteria, fuel potentially SIBO or SIFO, if that's something that you may have going on, bacterial and or fungal overgrowth, and set the stage for symptoms like IBS. Alcohol, poor sleep, chronic emotional stress all disrupt your gut and its lining. Well, the integrity of that lining, right? And the critical communication between gut, brain, and hormones. Sitting all day, modern life slows down your gut's natural motility, makes bloating and constipation even worse. So, what can we do? We can make sure that we are consuming protein, fiber at every single meal. This is going to aid in so many different ways. We can get in 10-minute walks post-meal to make sure that we have good blood glucose regulation. Getting in morning sunlight to assist in circadian rhythm regulation is critical. The bottom line, you literally cannot hustle, restrict, or cardio your way out of chronic gut problems. Normal labs can fail you. Listen to your symptoms, not just the numbers on a panel. This is why when going over lab panels, it's super critical that you work with a practitioner that's willing to utilize not only subjective data, but data on a lab report and correlate the two of them, because that is going to generally tell the whole picture. Here's the truth bomb. Most doctors won't tell you. Standard Western medicine labs are geared to detect disease, not dysfunction. Your gut can be waging war and your labs will come back completely fine. After we resolved the worst of Lexi's gut symptoms, her labs looked beautiful on paper. If she was a spreadsheet, she'd be thriving. But in real life, she still felt gray and flat. Her spark didn't come back until we got even more curious about these hidden stressors. Even the best functional health fixes, target elimination of trigger foods, tactical use of probiotics and antimicrobials, dialing up your protein and fiber, cannot compensate for what's getting missed if you're not translating that biofeedback. What is going on in your biofeedback? So when we think about biofeedback, we want to think about how is your sleep? How is your hunger? How is your energy? How is your digestion? How is your stress levels? And bonus points, how is your sexual health? Meaning, how is your libido? These are all going to be biofeedback symptoms that we can track over time. So sleep, what are we talking about? Are you allowing for 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Do you wake rested, restored, and ready for the next day? Or do you wake up feeling as though you need an IV drip of caffeine? Hunger. Do you feel satiated after consuming meals? Or do you have prolonged satiation where you feel like food is just sitting like a brick in your stomach? This can be a negative sign. Do you get bubble guts, burping, gas, bloating, acid reflux? Do you go back and forth from constipation to diarrhea? Do you go multiple days without passing a stool? These are all important questions to ask when it comes especially to hunger and digestion. I kind of covered both of those biofeedbacks, right? So we have the SHREDS acronym. Credit goes to Sam Miller Science on that one. So sleep, hunger, energy. How is your energy levels? Do you wake again? Going back to kind of sleep and energy kind of tie together. Are you waking feeling rested? Are you waking up feeling energized, ready to take on the day? Do you have sudden dips in energy, say at random times like 10 a.m. or 5 p.m. you hit a brick wall? Typically 2 to 3 p.m. That's a pretty normal slump in most people's days, but it should be exactly that, a slight slump. It shouldn't be crippling. Sleep, hunger, energy, digestion, or recovery. How are you recovering from your workouts or your output? Do you feel as though you are ready for your next training session, or do you chronically feel sore and broken down and inflamed from your workouts? Stress levels, how is your current stress levels from work, family, finances? And how well are you managing those stresses? What are you doing to manage those stresses? Are you managing what you're saying yes to? Are you taking 10 to 15 minutes of personal time every single day, such as journaling, reading, some form of breath work, something along these lines? And then sexual health. Do you have a libido? For men, do you have morning erections? If you're a woman, do you have periods of times where you crave that attention? As these are signs of a healthy body. Symptoms like persistent fatigue, food fear, erratic digestion, skin flare-ups, and mood swings, these are all whispers and red flags from your body. Don't settle for your TSH is normal or your GI panel was clear if you still feel hostage in your own body. That includes looking at the possibility of stealth triggers. In Lexi's case, it was her breast implants, keeping her system inflamed. Western medicine will miss these because they're checking for clinical disease states, not for optimal function, and definitely not for the unique complexity of women's bodies. Gut dysfunction shows up everywhere: mood, metabolism, hormones, immunity. The gut isn't just a food tube, it's a master regulator. When it's upset, everything gets upset. It wasn't until Lexi had her breast implants removed, after everything else had been ruled out, that she finally felt alive again. When her body was done fighting a hidden war with a foreign object, and her normal finally felt vibrant. Your gut is deeply tied to your hormone regulation. Think estrogen, progesterone, and thyroid. Chronic gut issues means chronic cortisol and stress hormone output. This can derail metabolism and make weight loss seemingly nearly impossible. The gut-brain axis means gut chaos can manifest as anxiety, depression, brain fog, and even insomnia and cravings. Remember, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Symptoms are whispers first, screams later. The body will escalate until it is heard. High-level game plan. I'm not here to sell you an elimination diet or 30-day kombucha cleanse. So what can we do? here's kind of a high-level game plan of the basics, right? I'm not here to sell you on an elimination diet or a 30-day kombucha cleanse. You cannot podcast or TikTok your way to real gut healing, and you probably shouldn't try. So first, we want to look at removing. Identify and start shifting your hidden gut disruptors, stress, ultra-processed foods, and yes, major environmental and medical factors when necessary. So remove. What am I talking about? We're talking about potentially like removing trigger foods, gluten, dairy, nightshades, FODMAP foods. All of these can be potential triggers, right? These can be triggers. You should be, during this process, avoiding ultra processed foods. And as far as environmental factors, we're talking about clothing, detergents, cleaning products, things along these lines. Now, here's the thing. Don't try to do this all at once. Not only would it be massively overwhelming, but it can put a deep, deep hole in your pocketbook. Support stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and consistent meal structure. Right? So how can we support stomach acid? There's a handful of natural remedies that we can utilize to support optimal stomach acid production. One of my favorites is the morning drink, I call it. So you're going to take a whole lemon, you're going to scrub it with baking soda to get that wax off of it. You're going to chuck it in a blender whole. You're going to add 10 to 20 grams of ginger. You can add in 10 to 20 grams of honey. You can add in a gram of salt and fill with 12 ounces of water. You're going to nuke that in a blender, and you're going to drink half of it before your breakfast, half of it before your dinner. This is going to increase naturally with natural bitters between the lemon, the ginger. It is going to increase stomach acid and bile acid production. This can help with the digestion and breakdown of food. Another goat in this situation is going to be peppermint tea in the evening. A good cup of peppermint tea can be very, very good for helping you with digesting food, increasing stomach acid production. Bonus points if you put a little bit of ginger in there. Again, it's going to increase that bile acid production, allowing you to break down your food. Consistent meal structure. We've talked a little bit about this, right? So we want to make sure that we're having a consistent breakfast, we're having a consistent lunch, we're having a consistent dinner, and ideally a consistent snack in there somewhere. High in protein, rich in fiber. We want to be aiming for roughly 25 to 35 grams of fiber. And for most people, you're looking for about 0.8 grams per pound of lean body mass goal. Right? So lean body mass goal, or if you're morbidly obese, something along that lines, take 0.8 times it by your goal body weight. If your goal body weight is 150 pounds, 0.8, that's probably like 122-ish grams of protein. Now, reinoculation with a focus on real food, fiber, prebiotics, and some targeted probiotics, not random supplement of the month, right, off of TikTok. So again, real food, fiber, pre and probiotics, these things you can actually get all from food. So you can consume this all from real food. You can consume enough fiber from things like fruits and vegetables and pre and probiotics, right? So you can consume these things like potatoes and starches like that are going to have a lot of those prebiotics in them. Probiotics you can find in things like fermented foods, kefir, yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that can all support optimal digestion and breakdown of your food. Supporting your gut lining with sleep, stress reduction, nourishing basics, and professional guidance, not a do-it-yourself protocol off of Instagram or TikTok from your favorite influencer. Oftentimes, if you are dealing with complex gut health issues, we are going to need to seek out professional guidance, but these are some steps that we can do if maybe your gut isn't in a really bad place, right? So again, supporting gut lining, we need consistent bedtimes, stress reduction, nourishing the basics, right? Simply having a bedtime routine, etc. Let's remember the magic isn't in the protocol. It is relentless curiosity, real partnership, and addressing your environment of your gut. Lexi is healthy today because she refused to settle for not dying and demanding that she get to a point of thriving again. She kept opening the next door until she got all the way home. If you saw yourself in Lexi, if you're tired, bloated, inflamed, you're sick of being gaslit, your body is talking, you're not broken, you're not crazy, and you're absolutely not lazy. Stop settling for quick fixes and find lab results. Start advocating for yourself, getting support, peeling back the layers until your body finally says thank you. If this episode hit home for you, share it with a friend who needs to know their story isn't over either. Follow the show and know that real answers are always available to the women who refuse to settle. You're not alone. You don't have to accept half a life, and you're worthy of thriving, not just surviving. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Intentional Health for Women podcast. If you found value here, please follow, rate, and share, because you never know when your story or Lexi's might be the spark that saves another woman's life. Remember, we are not normal. We are intentional.